Ladies and gentlemen, the patch notes are here for the summer update. Let's get into it. It's a bit of a surprise because we're also getting Kang, baby. We got Kang, Luna, Mysterio, and a surprise rework. So let's talk about it and see what's in store. So Kang is coming in as a universal supervillain, very similar to Gore. Almost identical to Gore in the sense that he is a PvP-focused character, that he is a World Boss Legend unlock exclusive, and that he is a native tier 3. So very, very similar in all three of those aspects. You will get one bio for every clear of Kang's World Boss Legend that you do. Once you clear it 10 times, which takes 2 days, then you will unlock him. If you want to unlock Kang as fast as possible, do not do any of your World Boss runs after the reset today, because the patch notes, the patch is happening tonight as a rolling patch, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific time, which is 11 p.m. Eastern time. And so you can jump in after the patch when Kang's bios are available. You can play 5 times, get 5 bios, and then about 10 hours later, when the daily reset happens for Wednesday morning, you can do another 5 to get the full 10. So in less than 24 hours after the patch comes out, there will already be maxed out Kangs running around. Now, what are you going to be getting for Kang? Well, you're going to be getting a very strong lead, all attack 55% and 12 seconds debuff. So basically a better lead than Thanos, because it applies to oh, actually it applies to self. Oh shit, I thought it was all allies. Okay, not a better leadership than Thanos. So he buffs his own attack, but for all allies he only gives them the debuff cleanse. Oh, that's interesting. That's not very good. Okay, he gets a flat 50% penetration chance, which is very, very good. All of his skills have penetration. And then he gets a 100% HP revive, also very, very meta. He gets 5% increase additional pierce damage, which Thanos, Gore, Adam Warlock, and a few others, Athena, have. He gets 40 skill damage bonus damage and 40% damage reduction. That's also very good. He gets paralysis, time freeze, stun, silence, burn, and you know, a bunch of other effects, but those are the sort of the important ones. He gets a counterattack with iframe ignore, which also has a 15% heal, and that's on an 8-second cooldown, so you can pop that every 4 seconds. Very similar to Gore having a very high priority skill with low cooldown. If that has super guard break, that'll be very interesting. He gets accumulation with a barrier. He gets a frenzy buff as well as decreasing recovery rate for enemies, and then he gets 4 seconds of invincibility. The main criticism here, also his 4th skill is a V-pad, which I love. The main criticism here for Kang, I believe, is that his heal is very low. 15% is very, very low. We'll have to see how it works, and we'll have to see how much damage he actually takes, because he does have 40% reduction base. But 1 heal for 15% and nothing else is quite low. They might have to go ahead and tweak that, or add another like 20-30% heal on another skill to sort of balance it out. And then we get Luna and Mysterio's uniform. So yes, Luna Snow's uniform is paywall. You're going to need to get 30 summer tokens. She maintains the same abilities. Her uniform effect now gives her some cold resist as well as cold damage and damage reduction. Her ultimate skill is being changed to Summer Skate. It was originally called Tonight, so she's probably getting a new animation on her tier 3, and they've bumped up her accumulation and the ignore dodge. Her passive now, instead of doing 10-10-5 for the buffs, is 30-10-5, so they added 20 attack. And then they add some other stuff on her other passives. They give her a V-pad skill on 2, which again, I love the V-pad skills. She has Fracture, she has Freeze and Stun, Silence, Paralysis, and Snare. So lots of ABX, ABL abilities. Of course, being tier 4 means you have access to the rest of the ones, like Burn and Shock, I believe, are the ones she's missing. She gets 2 25% heals on 4 and 5, Lollipop Freeze and Lilac Burst, pretty funny names. She gets invincibility, she gets immunity, and then she also gets a... doesn't she get 1? Oh yeah, she gets a 20% attack buff on her 5th skill. Still no frenzy buffs for Luna, but that's okay, because like I said, she hits like a truck, and all of her cooldowns are very short, 14 seconds or less for everything. And then Mysterio, aka Muscubio, unfortunately not getting a tier 4 as some of us had suspected based on the Luna tier 4. Only getting the uniform here, but the uniform does seem very strong. So he maintains his uniform effects with 50% attack, 30% penetration flat, and 66% damage reduction, so they didn't take any of that away. They changed his passive to now give him skill damage, bonus damage, and then for villain allies, which also applies to himself, increase damage to bosses by 40%, which is just like Enchantress, and then also 30% basic attack. So he basically becomes a better support than Enchantress right after Enchantress, which is pretty spicy. The only way Enchantress would be a better support for a character than Mysterio is if you're buffing a villain who deals mind damage specifically. But otherwise, Mysterio's buffs are as good as hers. I wouldn't say they're better. They're certainly as good as her buffs. He just doesn't have any other buffs. But now he gets some new skills. He gets 5 new skills, I should say. He keeps the V-pad on his second skill. It's a 20% heal now, which is nice. He keeps the accumulation. He has it now on his third skill instead of his 5th skill, which might make him a little easier to play, and it's a shorter cooldown. He gets a nice 40-40 frenzy buff with immunity, and then he also gets incapacitation with invincibility and a 50% damage proc on a skill called Unreality. So pretty nice there. I wouldn't be upset if I was a Mysterio fan. Certainly the tier 4 would have been better for him, but actually, yeah, I just checked it. It's 20% attack on Mysterio, on Enchantress versus Mysterio's 30. So technically his buff is a little bit better. But yeah, pretty solid for Mysterio. Turns him into a support. Keep in mind, because he is a seasonal uniform, this will only be available. The same thing goes for Luna, but Luna's is paywall. For Mysterio's and for Luna's, it's only available for this window of time, and then it's gone for the rest of the year until we get back to next summer, 2024. And there's no discount. So a lot of people get confused about this. They're like, oh, where's the 40% discount? There's no 40% discount for the crystal cost on seasonal uniforms. Same thing goes for Cable's seasonal uniform and Iceman's and what's his name? Quicksilver's. They're all just base cost, $17.50. And then Luna's tier 4. A lot of people confused about this one. It increases her basic damage by 80%, and it decreases by 8% every second for 10 seconds. So like, oh, this is so bad. The buff gets worse over time. Yes, it does, but the buff is insane. This is scaling her damage, which is the final number, rather than scaling her attack, which is at the beginning of the equation, which then gets multiplied and reduced by different defensive effects that the boss may have. If you go ahead and check other tier 4 abilities, like for example Shadow Shell, it doesn't buff her attack and her damage, it buffs her attack. Same thing goes for Moon Knight, and same thing goes for most other tier 4s. Their tier 4 abilities buff their attack. This is buffing the damage. So this is like adding a leadership effect that's better than She-Hulk's, and it also applies to females. This is increasing basic damage by 80% is very, very, very strong. It's very strong. And yes, it decreases by 8%, but even after the first decrease, it's only down to 72, which is still super fucking high. So this might be insanely good, and as a lot of people have pointed out, if she can charge up her tier 4 very quickly, the decay won't really matter that much. So we'll have to wait and see, but yeah, potentially very spicy for PvE content. And then Kang's tier 3 gets time, freeze, burn, ignore, dodge, invincibility, and it does 135%. There's no GIF of the animation. It's called the Declaration of Conquest. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm very excited to tier 3 Kang, native tier 3. I love having new characters to work on. Kang's artifact, exactly the same as Gore's, increasing damage to heroes and villains. So again, pretty much exactly the same and very much a PvP character. The one thing I will say about Kang as a bit of a criticism is he has pure evil and fast movement, but he does not have time freeze immunity, which seems odd for a character who travels through time. He should have time freeze immunity just like Adam Warlock. So yeah, the devs may want to think about that. And then, boom, out of nowhere, I said there was going to be a surprise rework. It's Odin, baby. Odie. So Odin's getting a buff. Yes, for all you tier 4 Odins out there who felt like you got a bit ripped off or felt like he's not as good as Star-Lord, etc., well, maybe we're going to have to turn back the clock on those opinions. So he's getting a reduction in the lightning he's getting a reduction in the lightning damage on his 4th skill from 160 to 70, but then they're increasing the hit count, which should make him deal more damage overall with his 4th skill. Then with his 5th skill, they're just adding more hits, which is just gravy. They're not changing anything else. They're just adding more hits. And then with his tier 4 skill, And that's why I say this is a tier 4 buff specifically, because they are buffing the tier 4. They're increasing the number of hits on the tier 4 so that it does more damage, right? Because it's going to do the same percentage, but there's going to be more hits, so there's just more damage overall. So this is actually a pretty huge patch. This patch, in my opinion, will have much more of an impact on the meta than the main update 2 weeks ago, because we're still getting a support in Mysterio. We're potentially getting not 1, not 2, but 3 meta characters, because Luna's going to be meta, Kang could be meta, and then Odin should now be meta where he wasn't 2 weeks ago. So this should be very, very interesting. As always, I will be live tonight at around 10:30 p.m. Because these updates tend to be a little early, which is always good for my sleep schedule. So yeah, it says 8 p.m., which is 11 Eastern, which is my time, 11 p.m., but it's usually a little bit earlier. So like I said, 10:30, 10:45. I'll be live a few minutes after the update is out, and we'll jump right in here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching the video. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.